In this video, we're going to talk about how long the foreclosure process is in Colorado. There's some unique things in Colorado, okay, besides the fact that it's a beautiful state and I'm related to half of it. There's some crazy things happening there, and it kind of surprises me how aggressive they are on this, okay? But we'll show you that. I mean, it kind of makes sense. Everybody has a nuance on this, but stick around, and whether you're trying to avoid a foreclosure or you are the foreclosee or with whatever you want to say, I think you're going to find some pretty interesting things here. More importantly, I know you're going to find some ways that you can benefit from all of this. Stick around to the very end. I've got myself a little gift for you, and that's going to be my gift to you. So stick around to the end, and I'll make sure you get that. First of all, Colorado is unique in the speed at which they do things, but it actually makes a little more sense, in a couple of aspects, just because I know what the national trend is, I guess you could say. But one of the things is not going to change is they're not going to send an NOD, a notice of default, until the property owner has been delinquent 30 days. There seems to be conspiratorial theories behind this. Like these banks, they really don't want the property. Let's just take myself, for example. I'm not a bank. I don't want the property. I don't want to foreclose on the property. I want somebody to make the payments. That's the agreement we made. I sold you the property. I carried the note. I expect you to make your payments, and you expect to live in the house. I mean, kind of simple. So nobody keeps track of me. If you fail to pay those payments, I'm going to have to go through the foreclosure process just like anybody else. But here's the deal. The first thing you want to do is, if you are going to be delinquent on a mortgage payment, is get a hold of the bank. That doesn't accelerate the foreclosure process. You need to let them know right away. And I'm going to tell you why, because they would rather do that. No, it doesn't speed up anything because nothing can be accelerated. You have to wait certain times for certain things to happen. But you can start the process of maybe renegotiating so much quicker. So if somebody comes to me and go, Sean, you're not going to believe this, but this happened, this happened, this happened. What can we do here? And I can sit there and go, okay, let me tell you what we can do. We can do a loan modification, blah, 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 blah. The banks have a different incentive. So if I'm Wells Fargo and I get somebody gets a hold of me and said, listen, this is a situation that's happened within our family. The likelihood of us being able to make the payments for the next couple of months are really reduced. We need some help here. That lets me kick in that whole process once an NDO goes out, an NOD, notice of default. There's a window in there that you have to give the borrower time to make an agreement, maybe loan modification or whatever. But the banks are held to a different deal. They're regulated, not like I'm not. Nobody cares about me. Oh, boo-hoo. But the banks, they say, we need, as the feds, we insure your loans. We insure you against going bankrupt. The banks, with the big debacle back in 2008, they're saying, listen, we need to know how many of your loans are in default right now. So you can look it up anytime you want. You can go to Bank of America, Wells Fargo, or any of the lenders, and it's going to show you the average loans that are behind. 30% of our portfolio is 30 days or late or more, and maybe that's a little high, but it's been pretty high in recent memory. So what that is what they call a leading indicator on where things are going. If Bank of America has 40% of its loans that are in default, y'all think that there might be some bad stuff coming down the road. You better believe it is. Okay, so those are the things that the government wants to know, the investors, the public wants to know. By having those indicators out there, that also tells me what's happening in the marketplace. If somebody is 30 days late, but they resolve it, the likelihood of them going back into that situation are there, but not very great. 60 days late, that starts to go up. So in other words, if they're 60 days late, but they resolve it, the chances of them going back into a default period go up a little more because it took them so long to figure that out. 90 days late and 120, it starts to spike. That's that hockey stick thing that you hear about. So the likelihood of that property owner going into default a second time and losing the property start to go up. So now you got to start worrying about your portfolio, so to speak. That's why they want to know that, number one. Number two is it's a lot easier to work with the bank that you're working with and say, hey, this is what's going on. Let's curtail all of that. Notice of default, all of that good stuff, and make it happen. Now, that doesn't mean they're not going to do it, but we can get ahead of the game. Instead of only getting 90 days, I can go ahead and get it done in the first 30 days if I know what's going on. Come on, you know what's happening. Don't bury your head in the sand. Now, if you are the lender on it and this is your first loan and maybe it is in default, don't worry about it. They'll make it happen. They can come out of it. They can figure out a way to get out there, but you have to be willing to work with the person. The foreclosure process in Colorado is typically last only about 110 to 125 days from filing the notice of election, the NED, okay, to the final sale of the property. That's where I said that Colorado is a little more aggressive than others. It still has to go through the NOD as long as the QT is on the LD and the VP is not on K. I'm making all that up. What I'm saying is don't worry about these acronyms. Notice of default has to go out. That's where you negotiate whether you can redo the whole deal on there, modify the loan, or say, I'm not going to be able to pay it. Here's the deed in lieu of foreclosure. That can help save your credit and what have you. But once it goes beyond that, in Colorado, they're going to issue what they call an NED, or a notice of election. And what that does is accelerates the foreclosure process, and they'll bring it to sale on that. Now, understand, if you're buying a tax lien in the state of Colorado, I'm not going to get into the interest rates on there. It's based on prime and all that other good stuff, okay? But once you're going into a foreclosure in Colorado, you've really foregone a lot of the stuff that I just talked about there. They've already been 3 years late. They've already been default on that. A lot of things are accelerated because of that, and number one. And number two, this money is owed to the county, not you. So if you go into foreclosure in that process, the county's kind of accelerating that, going, because we have waited 3 to 4 years to get to this point, enough's enough, if you will. Keep that in mind. So the notice of default goes out right away. From the moment that you start to foreclosure till you get a property, give or take, you're going to be talking about 90 days, somewhere in that area in Colorado. Again, this isn't designed to get you a foreclosure license in the state of Colorado. I don't even know if there's such a thing. It's just designed to give you an understanding of how this process works. Unless you happen to be a foreclosure attorney, don't try to do this on your own. That's ridiculous. That's like trying to do your own, eye surgery because you watched a YouTube video. That doesn't make any sense. I'm trying to give you a 30,000-foot view of the process of a foreclosure, and if somebody fails to pay off you with a debt on a piece of property that you lent them money for, it's going to take about 4 to 6 months. Period. End of story. But one of the things you have to do is have to make sure that all of your paperwork is filed on time. So when I'm sending out my notice of default on this thing, it has to be, if I don't do that, even if they tell me they're negotiating with me on it, I've delayed the, if something happens where in that process of negotiating to pay that off, something happens, I haven't followed my notice of default, it just delays it that much more. This is what I'm saying. So when you have a foreclosure process, follow the steps and understand that if you don't, you're going to have to start over again at that point. Just follow those steps. Let the people know that you're not necessarily foreclosing the property, but if you don't do these things, it leaves you no legal standing whatsoever in the whole process. Now, here's the great thing. There's so many things that you can do with this that'll make money. I mean, I use predictive software out there that can tell you with about a 17% accuracy, once I pull a pool of properties within a particular area, how many of those are going to be either sold or going into foreclosure in the next 90 days, just based on the algorithms of what people, big word, are doing. Divorce, death, retiring, kids moving away, ordering certain magazines. If you're living in Colorado and you're ordering, Catamarans Are Us for Floridans, good chance you might be moving, okay? You want to know more about this? You want to learn how to make money with all of these things? Then you need to go down to the description below. Go to higginsmethod.com. I've got a brand new course that'll teach you how to do all this. It's free. I'm giving it to you for sticking around and watching this long. I think you're going to really enjoy it. More importantly, you follow the steps and you'll make some money. This is Saen Higgins saying God bless and good luck. We'll see you out there.